All right, everyone. It is time to get your detective hats and start theorizing. We are going to be talking about potentially the next big release on Legends. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe, of course, if you're new for more content. I'm going to take you guys down a trip from memory lane here, so make sure you guys are paying attention. Whatever you got on the side, turn it off. Pay attention, because class is in session. Excuse me, everybody. No, jokes aside, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have fun. So, long story short, on Twitter, they did announce a new global campaign. So, what this is long story short, the 530,000 followers campaign. 530. Where have I heard that number before in the series? Oh, yeah, Frieza. Anyways, long story short, they did announce that, right? And these are the rewards here, or the mission requirements, excuse me, tying into Masters Pack 3 tickets as rewards. And they do mention a little bit more about that down below. Feel free to pause. I'm not really going to cover this in video. Now, I initially earlier today was going to do a video. I wound up postponing it until tomorrow, and ultimately this video is going to be that video because we got information, surprisingly, a little bit, just a smidge of information. Long story short, I had noticed some trends recently, and I wanted to talk about them and maybe some ideas for the upcoming next big unit, because we could feel a big unit was going to come soon. We haven't had like an LF in a while now, especially with the rate at which they were putting out banners just a couple of months ago. So definitely something was on the horizon. So the latter half of this video, I'll be covering that, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to listen through the video, because again, it ties into Anniversary as well, and just some of how I'm thinking this game is going to go, right? Anyways, that being said, last year, we got something like this as well. So last year, we had this exact same board. They had different stuff going on. They didn't really mention, they weren't as like kind of like on the nose. It's like, oh, 530,000 followers, you know? Stuff like that. So that being said, last time around, we had this board. Now, basically every day when we completed some of this, they would knock off one or two of these, right? And when it was all said and done, this is how it looked. This actually was very important. They say here all the missions have been completed. Mission rewards will be sent to you at a later time. Congrats. And the hidden picture was Father-Son Kamehameha Gohan. So, this was important because at this time we did not have a Gohan. In fact, following this, the next day basically, we got Gohan released in the game. Now, he was actually, if I recall correctly, ticket exclusive on this banner though, but ticket exclusive. And they've since changed up how they do step-ups 5 times basically since then. Anyways, long story short, it was important, right? So they're doing it again almost a year to the date. Last time around it was the 7th, this time around it's the 1st. And they do actually hint at 530,000. Now, you know, this game, generally when they kind of like hint stuff on Twitter, it can be very straightforward, kind of like this, 530K, or kind of like, you know, like that math equation or some stuff. I also kind of heard that they might have had something planned for 21, but also that kind of was a hint as well with the, you guys probably picked up on it anyway, but there was also a hint, an indirect one, with the announcement for fighters, like they tweeted that out, right? But they might have had something else a little bit separately planned, but that was a different story. But long story short, they like to tease, right? So that being said, it does look like all signs are pointing to an LF Frieza. Now, the first thing I want to mention is on the topic of LF Frieza, I'm cool with that. It's Frieza. I think he deserves to be the first LF. Well, I will say there are other characters I think that could have, in terms of like impact on the series. I think Frieza though is the most important one for the most part among the villains. Even if you go back to base Dragon Ball, which I actually really enjoy when Goku was a kid, base Dragon Ball. And I would have liked, you know, a King Piccolo or something like that. Can we get support for those characters soon? Can we get more of them in the game soon? Anytime? I don't know. You guys, if you're listening, Legends team. Anyways, Frieza fits, right? I like Frieza. He would be a nice candidate. Also, Frieza's a fun one because he's got multiple opportunities. Just because it says 530K, I believe he said that on Namek. Was it versus Nail? It could have been versus Nail. Anyways, he mentions his power level multiple times in the series. Anyways, long story short, he could be Pod Frieza with Bardock, right? He could also be Frieza that blew up Earth, right? Even though we kind of have that, you know, Golden Frieza in the game technically, you know what I'm saying? But he could be an LF version of that, and whatever. He could be multiple things, right? He could be a Namek version of Frieza, right? He could be multiple things. Just because it says 530 doesn't mean it's going to be a specific era Frieza, right? Doesn't mean it's going to be like a first form Frieza or whatever the case is, what you may think it might be. Could be anything, right? It could also not be Frieza for some reason. Maybe it just doesn't matter, but I think it does matter, obviously. I think Frieza's like 95% confirmed now, for the record. Right. So that being said, that is kind of how things are looking. So let me know how you guys feel about Frieza in general. What you guys think about a villain finally potentially getting an LF in the game. Are you guys excited for that? And how things are looking for you guys. Now, over on Dokkan, it's a pretty big deal. They generally do try to tie into like Goku Day or like Saiyan Day and stuff like that. Some of those quote-unquote Dragon Ball holidays. Now, for this game, I looked it up, and I don't think that they celebrated it last year. Saiyan Day is on the 18th of March, right? So it would make sense if they were trying to tie that in. Last year, a few days ahead of time, I don't know if... See, like, sometimes both of these games, between this one and Dokkan, kind of schedule their releases staggered to where one can have a little bit of time and the other one can have a little bit of time to suck your money, right? Or even sometimes at the same time, but whatever. I don't know if this was a little earlier to try to beat the Dokkan crowd and stuff like that, or whatever the case is, and try to get some money before that. Dropped on Dokkan last year. But same type of deal seems to be happening this year, potentially. But that being said, in terms of what we got, I don't know if it's Saiyan Day or not, but if it is, right, we could potentially get Frieza comboed with like a new Bardock or something like that. That'd be really cool. I'd like to get like a base to Super Saiyan Bardock or something, even though that's dipping into chill territory. Whatever, it's a game. Who cares, man? Some of you guys care, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, even if it's just a base Bardock, you know what a sneaky thing is? What if base Bardock like Zenkai's? The old base Bardock, what if he freaking Zenkai's? Zenkai is not leaving! Now, I will say that the team is open to changing it. Probably not to the extent that a lot of people want it to be changed, but they are open to it, I've heard. But it's not leaving. So I'm going to still recommend Zenkai's in terms of, like, if it's available in the game. I want to see characters get buffed, long story short. Anyways, what if he gets, you know, Zenkai? Anyways, moving on. There are other possibilities in general. I just want to know in terms of Frieza how you guys feel about that. Now, like I said earlier, I was initially going to record a video talking about this topic, in fact. It felt kind of dry. It felt kind of like we were going to get a new big banner sometime soon, and some things have been kind of hinting at stuff. Now, this is interesting because it's important to mention that the anniversary is in just about a few months now, in just about 3 months, or give or take, something like that, 2.5. It's not far, long story short. Since that's the case, things that you see now could be building up to the anniversary, right? Anything you see now could be building up to that. If you see a team start getting a bunch of support, that could be a dead giveaway, right? And on that topic, they made a very, very interesting decision over the course of the last few weeks. They decided to add Vegeta onto the Future Group. Since that's the case, a lot of people were mad about this. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's good for the game. It's good. Why, you may ask? If by chance, at any point before the anniversary, for the anniversary, whatever the case is, we get any more Vegetas from the Future Trunks saga, Gokus from the Future Trunks saga, we could even potentially get Vegito Blue, and he would wind up on Future, whereas different possibilities could have led to these characters not being included, but since Vegeta was added in afterwards, that does 100% confirm that those characters will be in the future. And yeah, that's the case, right? So it's a very big deal. But Future started recently getting some buffs, and also if you tie that into Zenkai Goku Black, who also is a yellow Future unit, he's not really buffing, you know, any Future units. We're still missing a yellow LF until Frieza probably winds up being that, but still. Long story short, between now and anniversary, there were several different candidates for an upcoming LF, right? And again, I think that it's important to see if like Future starts getting some, you know, marginal support, we could be leading towards something, I'll just go ahead and say it, like a Vegito and Murtsumasu type of anniversary. And a lot of people would love that. A lot of people would love to get Vegito Blue. It's so funny because the talk has always been Gogeta Blue, because they made this interesting decision to go ahead and drop the Dragon Ball Super Broly stuff to coincide with that. And that movie's over a year old now, a year and some months now, in fact. And we still don't have Gogeta, and here we are. It's just like kind of like, when is he dropping, right? They made this really interesting decision to do that, and it's led to a lot of hype around Gogeta Blue potentially dropping, and we could get that. Who knows, right? He would be on God Key. God Key would be getting support in multiple facets. Who knows, right? But I think that Vegito Blue started looking really, really interesting and really likely when this Vegeta was added. Just bookmark it, because they would not have made this change if it wasn't for the idea of potential future units being added to the future team. That's the whole reason why this change was made. Because I think initially, I'm going to be honest, I think initially the team did defined future in their own heads on, you know, internally, because they don't have a definition in the game. I think initially they did define it as characters from the future, like a lot of people wanted to be, right? But they decided, hey, Vegeta is such an interesting, you know, topic, because the way they handle Vegeta impacts the future of the game. Literally, it impacts the future of future, right? So they decided to make an executive decision to extend that to characters that also traveled to the future as well. So as opposed to being just from the future, right? And there are some caveats to that, like Whis can time travel, right? In some degree, right? He will rewind time, right? It's a little different. We've got these time rings and just a bunch of wonky stuff that happens in that arc. But regardless, though, I think they made that decision to change the definition on their team side for the future, right? Literally. So definitely just, again, in terms of what could come, it could be future Trunks. Stay tuned for that, right? It could be Trunks and Zamasu, some weird combination like that. Regen started getting buffed recently. I think Regen is interesting because Zamasu would be on Regen, just like the other Zamasus. He would wind up on Regen, Fusion Zamasu would. So they could do this joint thing where Future and Regen, which are two of the tags that have gotten a good bit of support recently, wind up getting buffed for the anniversary. But I'm still talking about something that's a few months away, and I mainly was thinking that a Trunks LF was about to drop, especially for Saiyan Day. I did not expect the Frieza, and that was why I was going to record this video. I'm happy I delayed it, though. So let me know how you guys feel about some of the stuff. What do you think could be coming soon? Next thing I want to kind of talk about very briefly before we get out of here is I will just bookmark this banner. Last couple of times we got GT stuff, they were all just kind of precursors to ultimately to the SS4s and Baby dropping. We got these units. I don't know if these units, I don't think these units mean much right now. I don't think they're a precursor to anything bigger like Omega and SS4 Gogeta, although that's also a possibility. I'd say it's probably a top 5 possibility for the anniversary, for the record. I don't know if they're a precursor to that or if they even matter in that grand scheme of things. But I'm going to bookmark this banner for now, right? We've had some interesting banners as well. God Key recently, a little bit recently. They've just been kind of bouncing around a little bit. So there's not really a clear pattern. And you get this sense that they got tired of their game being predictable. You know, I would jump on and do these videos, and I'm going to be honest. In my prediction videos, I'd be majority of the time like almost right. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just you can see what the game was doing, right? You can see the patterns. You can see it if you paid attention. And they clearly got upset about that, and they don't want it to be predictable. So who knows, man? I'm excited, though. I'm excited. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Hit that subscribe, of course, if you're new, and I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.